Can real estate financing help you get wealthy? What about getting access to business funding? Is that something that can get you wealthy as well? Well, hello, my name is Lorillia, and welcome to the Never Lose a Deal podcast. Today, I am going to talk to you about how real estate financing can help you be wealthy. As always, this podcast episode is for real estate investors who are looking to expand their real estate portfolio using creative financing as well as other alternative funding and financing methods. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So let's dig right into it. So I decided to do this episode because I want to kick off my 2025 summer series of financing. So for the next couple of episodes throughout the summer, I will be talking about different strategies and methods to be able to leverage in order for you to finance your real estate portfolio. And I thought today would be a great way to kick it off as I talk about building wealth. So, if you do not know, let me share this with you. So, one thing that I do when I work with my real estate investor clients or business owners who desire to invest in real estate is to help them leverage funding and financing to expand their portfolio and build wealth. Now, a lot of people may say, "Well, Lorraine, what do you mean by wealth?" Because wealth is a very big term. And I always say how I help my clients build wealth is based on their personal and business financial goals. So I make sure that the funding and financing that they decide to leverage is in alignment with those goals. Because I'm a big advocate of the wrong financing can literally put you in a bad situation. And if you remember looking at my last episode, I talked about when recently during the month of May, I had to think for a second, I did a workshop here locally in my community, the funding and funding flow to deal flow workshop. And in that workshop, I gave an example, and I gave the example here on the podcast where I talked about how an investor will could literally use business funding and it can actually put them in a worse situation than if they were to get FHA financing. And here's someone like myself who don't even do FHA. I don't provide FHA. If I have a client that is looking for that, I will outsource that business out. So why would someone like myself who don't even do FHA mortgage financing tell a potential client and steer them off in another direction when I could actually help them with the business funding as well as some other investor financing for me to get a larger piece of the pie? Well, the reason why is because I know that if I was to direct that client or possible client in that direction, it could hurt them. That's right, it can hurt them. Because I am a very big advocate and a strong advocate of you do not need business funding to get started in real estate. And that is why I work with a lot of seasoned investors, but I do have some people who come to me and they're new to real estate. And so a lot of times they need clarity and they're like, Lorillia, I've been told that if I leverage business funding and business credit to be able to invest in real estate, it will get me on the fast track. And I always say it depends. It really depends on your goals. I always tell people when I got started in real estate, I didn't start with business funding and business financing. So when I look back on since I've been on YouTube, and as I shoot this podcast episode, I am on YouTube and I'm on the different podcast platforms. Let me share with you this. I've been talking about business credit and business funding since 2017. You will never find a video where I've actually instructed people that that is what they need to invest in real estate. That's right, you heard me. You do not need it to invest in real estate. I'm a big advocate of if you're going to use business funding and business financing, or should I say business funding or business credit to invest in real estate, it is not a strategy when you have no money. It is a leverage strategy. It's not a don't have money strategy. And so, with me saying this, and I want to, start off this episode by sharing with you that is that it is almost out of alignment for me to tell someone that they can build wealth with real estate financing, but if they use methods that can hurt them, it is going to put them back instead of moving them forward. And that is what I want to talk about as I kick off this summer series. Now, let me start off by saying I want to share a story with you because I'm not going to be here that long today. I want to give you the case study as I verbally tell you of a current client, because as I mentioned to you, how I help my clients build wealth is based on their personal and business goals and making sure that the financing is in alignment with those goals. I'm not here to say, okay, let me show you how to build wealth. You want to buy this, you want to do that. That is not what I do. So I want to be very clear. But what I do is give my clients the peace of mind to know that if they were to leverage funding, if they were to leverage credit, if they were to get some type of asset-based lending, that it is in alignment with what it is that they do. Because if you are not careful, you can get yourself in a worse situation. So, a few years ago, back in 2021, I had who is now a client, but at that time, the person came to me and they were looking to find out how business funding could help them in real estate. Now, I want to give you some context to this story. Many of my clients are similar to myself. Although I don't work in corporate America, but I did at one time, once upon a time, had a career in corporate America. So I want to give context that a lot of the stories and the context that I give you, these individuals were not someone, or should I say, in a situation where they were strapped for cash and they came across some way that they can become a real estate millionaire overnight. And if they just knew the secret lenders list to get a business credit card, everything would magically happen. I want to tell you that that's not the pool of people that I work with. So I want to be very clear with that. Many of the individuals I work with, real estate investors, are possibly still corporate professionals. They still work in corporate America. Some are full time investors, but some are corporate professionals who are looking to build their real estate business on the side because they have a goal. Remember, I said how I help my clients build wealth is based on their personal and business goals. So this particular client was what I just shared with you. They're a corporate professional. They're doing very good at their job, but they also work as, or should I say, have a business as a real estate investor on the side. Well, this particular investor had a fix and flip business, and the fix and flip business took a hit during COVID. If you remember, during COVID, there was a period of time where things got shut down. Well, lo and behold, this particular client of mine, his flip got shut down. Wasn't able to work on the flip, wasn't able to get workers to work on the flip, at a total halt. But guess what was not at a total halt? Those payments to that hard money lender. That's right. When you play the game of Monopoly, what do they say? The bank never goes broke. So even though his fix and flip was not moving and was in a dead halt, those payments to that hard money lender still had to happen. Well, unfortunately, lo and behold, my client had to relinquish the property to the lender. He took a total loss, total loss. But that didn't stop that person, because this is what I tell people. A lot of my clients are not looking to be experts in funding and financing. They truly believe that they have a board of advisors who they go to. You've heard me talk about this in other videos. They're not looking to be the CPA in their real estate business. They're not looking to be the attorney in their real estate business. They're not looking to be the contractor in their real estate business if they're doing fix and flips. And then they're not looking to be the person who provides the financing, which would be me in their real estate business. So this investor knew that this is what I'm good at. I am good at fixing and flipping, but I am not good at financing. They know that. And they were not looking to be an expert in it, because I tell people, you have to decide on what you're going to be an expert in. It's very rare that you have someone who is an expert in what it is that they do in real estate and they're expert in financing too. That usually does not happen. And that's why I always say, I don't need to know how to do a fix or flip to understand financing. I don't need to know how to build new construction, meaning I have to be the one who's laying the foundation and framing the house and everything to provide the financing. That's a story that's told to people who are newbies to real estate. A lot of times you can tell newbies that story, but experienced investors know that they are not trying to be the be all to know all in everything. And so understand there's a differentiation. And I want to share that differentiation as I tell the story, because I want you to see if you see yourself in this story. So as I mentioned to you, client of mine was corporate professional, making six figures in their career, married, have children, some in college, runs a real estate business on the side. COVID happened, took a hit, fix and flip, was at a dead halt, had to relinquish the property to the lender. This investor did not decide to say, oh, woe is me, real estate doesn't work. They said, I still want to be able to pursue this vision that I have, which is their personal and business vision. But I just lack in a certain area. And that's when they came to me. And I shared with them what it would possibly look like if they were to leverage funding, business funding, and business credit, along with their personal credit, to be able to still pursue what it is that they want to do in real estate. So this person locked arms with me, and I shared with them how it's done to help them to still stay in alignment, because the framework that I teach my clients is not, once again, I tell people it's not about getting funding and financing. Most people feel like, oh, if I just get the funding, oh, if I just get the financing, everything will fall into place. And unfortunately, what a lot of people don't know, you don't know what you don't know. So as I mentioned to you before, seasoned investors know they're not looking to be experts. So this particular investor was leaning on my understanding to assist them with my funding framework to help them to get to their goal of what it is that they want to do. Well, let me just say to you this, because this was back in 2021. This particular client got way over north of six figures in funding. They got about, I want to say about 140,000 in funding. Yes, they were responsible and they did pay it back. But what they were able to do pretty much exploded their business. They were able to, and I am looking to bring them on to the podcast so they can share this story with you all. They were able to continue their fix and flip business. They expanded into buying mobile homes. From those mobile homes, they were able to hypothecate. And if you're not familiar with hypothecate, that's pretty much being able to become the lender on some of their mobile homes and get a stream of revenue. Like I said, this is not going to be a video on hypothecation, but let me just say they were able to continue to bring in a stream of income, not only from their mobile home, but also selling off a piece of the financing as well. And let me just say, the list goes on and on. Now they're looking to get into private lending. So that's just a snapshot of what the right funding can do for a person who's very clear on their vision. As long as they have the right person to guide them to what it is that they want to do, because that's what I tell people all the time. I'm not here to prove to you I can get you some funding. I'm not here to prove to you that I can get some financing, because this is what I tell people: it exists. Even with people talking about interest rates are high, whatever the doom and gloom is in the marketplace, there are people moving and shaking, doing real estate. Even in a market where I'm at, because I tell people I'm in a market where most people don't even have the capacity to even understand. So a lot of times when you hear people talking about business credit and real estate, really what they're talking about is buying a home out in the Midwest, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, whatever. You buying a house for 40,000, get a business credit card. By all means, if that's your game, then that's your game. But I tell people all the time, what does it look like when you're in markets like myself? I literally saw a house over the weekend. It was an estate home, person inherited from their boyfriend who passed away. They're looking to get 600K, and the house needs work. Now it's not banged up work, but it needs work. That those are the numbers we're dealing with in New Jersey. And that's just, and like I said, and that's just relative to New Jersey, because there are other states where that's cheap. I was recently pricing out a deal for an investor in California who bought a home for $500,000, added an ADU on it. Now it's like north of 1.5 million. I say that to say, how does business funding and business credit work when you're in those markets? Because it's easy to get a one credit card or two and just buy a home outright. But what does it look like when you're in high price markets and you still want to leverage funding? Let me say this to you, ladies and gentlemen: most people don't know. They do not know how it's done, because nobody is getting credit cards for $500,000 and buying a home to fix and flip, or an apartment building. They're just not doing it. They're not doing it, ladies and gentlemen. So I say this to say, going back to the story of someone came to me in 2021. We got clear on their goals. This wasn't a case of, because I want you to see yourself in this story. Because a lot of people, they will not see themselves in that story. And that's okay. I tell people all the time, I'm not here to help everyone. I'm not the person. If you're just looking to get an Amex Platinum and then possibly buy real estate, like I tell people, I'm not the person to come to if you have never bought real estate and now you are looking for someone to teach you real estate. I'm not that person, because this is what I know: the difference between the newbie investor who has never bought anything versus the investor who does have experience. 90% of the time, the newbie investor really wants what has been told to them, because they don't have no context of their own, because they've never bought anything. They may have only been exposed to what's possible on a webinar on some type of social media live platform, and that's it. So they have no data to pull from. So now they are looking to create something that they saw someone to sell them on. They really don't know what it is that they want to do. And I'm not here to judge. I just know I rather work with a pool of people, because based on my success and my client's success and the data that's there, a large portion of those individuals were investors who were already investing, clear with what it is they wanted to do. And the money was just a byproduct. It was just a byproduct. It wasn't the product. That's why I say there's a difference between leveraging funding and financing and needing funding and financing because you have no money. And that's why I said, what does it look like when you have no actual income and someone has sold you on business funding and business financing, and then you want to pair it with regular financing? I want you to just sit on that. What does it look like? And most of the time, people can't tell you what it looks like because they will not talk to you about, is your funding and financing lender compliant? But I'm not going to go into that today because that's not what this episode is about. It's about building wealth. So going back to that client who came to me in 2021, I want to give you an idea of, this is what it looks like to be able to build wealth with financing. Knowing what it is that you do with real estate, being clear on your goals and what it is that you want to do. What does the future look like for you in terms of your personal goals and your business goals? How does real estate play a part in it? I have clients who all have different goals. I have some who want the ability to be able to build their retirement nest egg because they don't want to deal with the only retirement account being their job. They want to make sure they set themselves up. Many of them are in their 40s. If they retire in 65 from their corporate job, they want to make sure that they're not just depending on their corporate 401k. They also want to offset some of the ups and downs in the market, although they may be invested in, the stock market or what have you, but they don't want to be heavy leveraged in that area. The list goes on and on. Some want to be able to assist their children who are in college. You see what I mean? And I give you a story for myself, just to give you context. When I started this journey in real estate in 2008, I was already working a business. This is pre-internet. I tell people all the time, I wasn't a MySpace person. I wasn't a Black Planet person. I came on to social media in '09 from a recommendation of a client. So I was currently running a business, wanted to know how I can market my business better. Client recommended social media. I had heard about it, didn't quite know how it works, what it looks like, and while I started off with Facebook. I say all that to say, during that same time, I also had got started in real estate. And if you remember in real estate 2008, doom and gloom, there's people who talk about how they lost everything. Well, for me, that's when my real estate career kicked off. Once again, being very clear with my goals, took off, continued building on it, stacking and stacking and stacking. In 2012, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 years later, I decided I wanted to homeschool my kids. Homeschool my kids in terms of, at that time, I had an external office, so I literally had to drive 30 minutes to my office. The short version of this story, wealth for me was to be able to homeschool my kids full time, along with still having and still generating income. And I was still able to do that from my real estate business. That was wealth. That was wealth for me. I was not trying to be rich. I mean, I wasn't trying to be, millionaire wealthy, but I knew that if I continued stacking and stacking and stacking, 11 years later, I was still able to stay in that position of homeschooling my children with no interruptions of income because I had the cushion of real estate. That's the part that a lot of people don't know, because people don't know what's working in the background. People just assume what they see. And I come from the school of thought, me being over the age of 50, you don't tell everybody everything. I just come from that. Like I'm not here to prove to people what I got and what I don't got. That's why I always say, even the work that I do here, helping clients leverage funding and financing to build wealth, expand their portfolio. I don't need no market research, because the research is usually myself or people that I've actually worked with. You know, this ain't no play. I do this. So I say this to say, as I sum this podcast episode up, kicking off the summer series, going to talk more about financing, primarily investor financing. Like I said, I'm not in the space of FHA, VA, USDA loans, conventional loans. Primarily here on this channel, we'll talk a lot about creative financing. Um, Definitely in the scope of um, DSCR, fix and flips, bank loans, portfolio loans. The list goes on and on and on. And if you decide to want to leverage business funding and business credit, how does that look like? Or should I say, what does that look like? Is it lender compliant? Because that's the part that your business credit business experts will not talk to you about, because a lot of them are just giving information, not giving implementation. So if you want information along with implementation, because like I said, I'm not going to just give you no information and tell you, okay, now go out there and figure it out. I clearly can help you implement what it is that you want to do. And if I can't help you implement it, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not what I do. I have no problem telling people that. So if that sounds like you, if you are that business owner, corporate professional, real estate investor, looking to expand your portfolio, wondering what funding or financing you need to use, you're not looking to be a financing expert, by all means, my thing is I don't get into no sparring match with nobody. You're not going to like, well, I think this, and then I'm supposed to help you rebuttal it why what I have is better. That's not what we do here. If you feel like you have talked to a professional that can help you with a particular situation that you have with your financing goals, by all means, you go with that. But we don't do sparring matches here. I clearly only want to help those professionals who are looking for assistance with financing, with funding, making sure it's in alignment with their goals. They're not looking to be funding experts, and they know that the wrong financing can hurt them. Because let me share with you with that, ladies and gentlemen, the wrong funding or financing can hurt you financially. And here on this channel, I'm all about building wealth. I don't believe in giving you information as well as helping you implement something that could hurt you. And I got a whole nother, I could be here on another 30 minutes just talking about that, based on a conversation I had last week with someone who locally recommended themselves to me. And I had a conversation with that person. But I want to leave it right where we're at now, because we're at 29 minutes almost at 30, and this is pretty much a wrap for me. So, if you would like to have a conversation, as you can see scrolling along this video, watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify or listening online, just go to the show notes. You can go to www.leverageportfoliocapital, submit your information. Let's see if you would like to have a conversation. Let me assist you with pricing out financing and funding for your next real estate deal. And until the next time, this is Lorillia, and I will see you in the next podcast episode. Okay.